So we were successful with some capital funding from Rotherham Council, and we've been working on a restoration project at Keppel's Column. So we worked with partners such as Historic England, the Fitzwilliam Wentworth Amenity Trust and the Historic Houses Foundation, who have supported us in terms of helping fund the project. The project has involved working to restore the column, make it accessible to the public once again and ensure it's kind of stable and will survive many more years to come. The work involved making it structurally stable, replacing any stonework that was damaged and also repairing the internal staircase so that people can access that viewing platform once again.
I'm extremely excited today. Many people in Rotherham have fond memories of Keppel's Column. Since the 1970s it's had to close because the structure's been unsafe. By opening this monument we are helping to publicise that history of Rotherham that few people seem to be aware of.
So heritage is really important for the local area. Of course, this monument was here long before many of these houses were here. What is important is that past, kind of the present and the future all kind of connecting together. We want to ensure that our communities have a reason to connect with our heritage sites, and they aren't just forgotten buildings that no one knows the story of, and that our communities are continuing to have kind of connections and building their own memories around our sites. We've had some really lovely oral history that we've been collecting about people's memories of originally going up the column, and what we want to do now is ensure that the community and the generations have their own memories of going up the column. Now it's been restored so that it continues for many more years to come.
Oh, I'm so happy that Keppel Column's been restored. I just think it's so nice to see that actually these stories aren't just going by the wayside, that people are actually thinking, yeah, do you know what, these stories are worth preserving. So I'm so happy to see actually that history is being made accessible again to the people it matters to most.
So my name is Jeff Clark. I'm from Art of Protest Projects. I'm director and I'm a land artist behind the Keppel's Column land art piece. The interesting thing about the residence was that it hasn't been open for 40 years. So when we were coming up with the creative design for it, we realised very quickly that the history of the piece was more in the imagination of the residents who walked past it every day. Because the thing itself is a mystery. It's a piece of excitement that maybe people, I think in the 70s, the last time when someone had actually physically been up this wonderful tower. So from this history and these lovely interviews they've done with people, we decided to come up with various different totems which could then reflect and relate back to the column itself. So we wanted to create a piece of land art that could be magnificent from the top, but also engaging and fun from the bottom.
My name's Paul Mallinder. I'm a local resident. There were fears that it would have to be pulled down, so I'm delighted that the work that's been done to restore it, and because it's part of our heritage. As a child I went up it, but I think it's a great thing for the local community and for our heritage that it's been preserved for future generations. Imagine building that up here, you know, how did they get the scaffold up? You know, where did the stone come from? You know, it's a marvellous piece of engineering that perhaps we take for granted sometimes, you know.
Well, being a child, it's always fascinated me, Keppel's Column. Yeah, I mean, it's our history and heritage, really.
Coming from Wentworth, my grandfather and the family came to live in Gothic Lodge at Scholes. With the tenancy in Scholes Lodge, he became the keeper of Keppel's Column, and he did it for the rest of his life. He used to keep the key. He absolutely adored his job. He did. Every weekend and every bank holiday he'd be sat outside on his little brazier stool thing, or if the weather was bad, he'd be sat inside in his little room with his shelf where he kept his sandwich and the rest of it.
Keppel's Column's been a part of my life, all my life. It's part of our community. We've been desperate to get this restored for so many years, and we're saving something that's a real part of our local history, and it's so important and it's so special to see it as it is today in all its glory, knowing that that's going to be there for my great-grandchildren, when there were times, many, when I thought it never would be.
I remember walking onto the platform for the very first time. I was very young, but I remember it was quite daunting because it's quite small when you get up there, and the impression that you get when you step out, you look up and you think, wow, I'm flying.